Hi, this is Lauren with Verivest, and today we are with Garrett Lynch and Drew Niffin from Nighthawk Equity. Welcome, guys. We're really excited to speak with you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah,
Hey, Lauren.
absolutely. Um, so I'd love to hear from you guys just your origin story and how you ended up here where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So our company, Nighthawk Equity, the company goes back to 2017. And the story of the company is essentially at one point in time, we were helping people, coaching people on how to do apartment building deals and how to do their own deals. And we realized was the biggest issue was the coordination of the raising of the capital, really qualifying the property managers and really putting the whole deal together. So we said, what if we instead not just coach people but did it ourselves? And so out of that, Nighthawk Equity got started. And so since 2017, we've done 17 different deals and have on every single deal, learned new things and figured out better ways to make our properties have lower risk and higher returns and a better overall experience for our investor community.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
and Drew and Michael actually started the firm in the beginning, and then I came on a little bit later, but I had previously had a company of my own that I started when I was 26 with a couple business partners.
Yeah.
We scaled that business to 3,400 apartments and self-managed everything in about 3.5 years. And then when I linked up with them, I actually got bought out of that company when I was 29 at the end of 2016. Then I found these guys. They had acquired close to 800 apartments at the time when I met them, and we decided to go into business at that time. And so just us three together are a really powerful group. We kind of discovered that in the process, and so we've been working together ever since.
That's great. Thank you both. So tell me how you source deal flow. What's your acquisition strategy that you put forward?
Yeah, so I've been doing sourcing deals for really my whole career. It's the one area of the business that I really enjoy and I've gotten good at over time. And so I'm kind of the point man for finding a lot of the deals that we get, and most of the deals that we find are off market, so they're deals other people can't see that I forged through either building relationships with other ownership groups or through the actual brokers. And so we get a lot of deal flow, more than most, I'd say, and then we get to pick only the best ones that we can do. And often there's only been a handful of groups or just a couple of groups that have even seen the deal, sometimes none. We're the only ones that have it in front of us. So that's what's really cool, because anyone that invests alongside us gets access to those deals that no one has seen or that they would not have access to normally. And so, the acquisition strategy that we have typically is to find, deals where there's a gap in the market on. So in a really well located area. So let's say, there's something on the value add side, like the rents are too low, or there's a lot of deferred maintenance, or there's some kind of management issue that's happening. We try to target those types of opportunities and then add the necessary value through our construction, through our management, and just reposition the asset in that way in a very quick manner so that we can juice the returns early on. And so we focus a lot on location. We think that there's just a lot more upside in finding location-based deals where there's typically some kind of hair on the deal, but it's in a great spot. And then that also protects the downside risk for the investor, because that's the most important part, is just making sure that we're in an area where there's enough insulation. And that's done by just buying in an area where the staff is better, the residents are better, and just people want to be there in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you really spoke on the location there, but elaborate a little bit more and tell me what key markets you specifically operate in and why you select those markets.
Yeah, so I'll try to grab this one, Lauren. So the markets that we're focused in are driven by a desire, of course, to have the best returns for investors with the lowest risk. And so the markets that, in our mind, get us there are going to be in the Southeast. And specifically, we have targeted Huntsville, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, and then the Carolinas as our three markets. And the reason that we're doing that is what I call kind of like the 3-2-1 growth strategy. So we want to see growth in three key demographic areas. So that's job growth in that market, population growth in that market, and income growth in that market. If we have those three growths, we have huge tailwinds, and that leads to the next two growths that are so important. So we want to have rent growth and what I call cap rate growth. And in cap rate growth, it's really compression of cap rates, which we've continued to see across the country, but especially in these growing markets. And then when you have all of that, you have rent growth. When you have rent growth, we get to the real thing we're looking for, which is IRR for our investors. And that's not just higher returns, but it's higher returns with the lower risk because we have all this people moving to these areas. And so that's kind of what we're looking for when we're choosing our markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure kind of over the last year or two, you've seen quite a big boom, specifically in those three markets that you operate in.
We have. When we look at deals, in order to be conservative and have insulation in our models, especially since COVID happened a year and a half ago, we've been underwriting our deals as if there will be no rent growth in that first year because there's been so much uncertainty in the economy. Right. But what we've actually seen is phenomenal rent growth, not across the nation, but in these key areas. And I'd even add that we're not just looking at those metro areas, but we're looking at the better neighborhoods within Atlanta, within the Carolinas. So we're very carefully turning down, rejecting deals that are on parts of town that we don't think have the right demographics, have the right tenants, have the right growth potentials there.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. So tell me what your investment philosophy is. How do you determine whether a deal is worth doing or not?
Yeah, so our investment philosophy is we want to obviously create opportunities for our investors, based on obviously our location metrics, and then based on the things that Drew talked about. So those kind of all play together and play into each other. And it's very important that we go into a deal underwriting conservatively. And I think there's too many operators that don't have the experience, or that they're just trying to get a deal to get their fees, and that they haven't really done the homework or underwritten conservatively enough to make the deal worth doing. There's many cases out there where people aren't hitting their targets, or operators are not hitting their targets, but they don't care. We care a lot, and we understand that reputation is extremely important in general, and so our goal is to go in, be extremely conservative on how we're underwriting the deal, find the deal that matches our box, and don't veer outside of that box. Even if there's a more attractive situation, or we think that if we just tweak the numbers a little bit this way, we can get into a deal. We don't want to skip steps. We don't want to cut corners. And in doing so, we know that that's going to yield just a higher level of trust with our investors and just more deal flow, more abundance in general. And so, a deal to us is worth doing only if it fits inside that box and it fits inside of our core metrics that we put into our model, and that it's in alignment with what we're projecting out to our investor base.
The one other thing I'd add to what Garrett said, everything he said is totally right. The other thing I'd add is part of our investment philosophy is investing alongside our investors. So we're always putting in, a significant amount of our own money alongside our deals so that we are very much aligned with them. If the deal is not going according to plan, which no deal goes 100% according to plan, we can say we're in this with you, right? And we genuinely are. And so in that way, there's trust and rapport that's built because we're always, as part of our investment philosophy, are going to be right alongside our investors in this experience.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and also to go off that, Drew made a very good point. No deal is perfect. There are a lot of unknowns that you go into, but we, as experienced operators, and with the amount of experience, I've been doing this for about 10 years. Drew and Michael have extensive experience in this. Us three together, we all have different input that we give together. It allows us to pivot around the challenges that come inside the business, which exists in any business. It's just how do you pivot? How do you make sure you mitigate that downside risk and protect your investors and your investment that we are also invested with alongside.
Yeah. Yeah. And perfectly leading to my next question, what's your risk mitigation strategy? How do you generate value once you've made the investment?
Yeah, I'd narrow that down to one word, and that word is engagement. And I'll expand on that, obviously. But when I say engagement, I mean a lot of people in this space, whether it's people doing it for their first deal or serial operators, they buy the deal, and once they buy the deal, it's kind of like, oh, we throw it over to the property management team, and we'll just wait for the deal to perform. And of course, that's not how life is. There will be curveballs, there will be variables. You do need to stay engaged in the deal. We are literally engaged in deals, almost all of our deals, on a daily basis. There's things that come up, email traffic, numbers, metrics that we're looking at, scorecards, quarterly numbers we're looking at. And because we're so engaged on it, we're seeing things before they deteriorate severely or really impact the deal. We're also really engaged, and we're deeply involved in the construction. So on the building or the renovating of the exterior of the property, or on the building and renovation of the interior of the property, we haven't just farmed that out to some other party. We're deeply aware of, engaged in, and have hired people that are acutely following it, so that we're getting the best pricing, we're getting the best scale, we're getting the best speed we can get on renovating units, improving the property, and making a great place for our tenants and for our investors to be invested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also to go along with that, so a key part, something that we're doing that other groups may or may not be doing, is we actually invest back into the business by hiring our own people outside of the property management company to help us watch numbers, to help us run the construction, and just to make sure that our investors are taken care of properly. So we have key hires that we've made that help support our overall eyes on the ground, boots on the ground, and then our eyes on the numbers. And I don't think every group does that. I know they don't. It's just the general partners a lot of times that are doing that, but we're definitely a group that does that. We take that very seriously. And we are very hands-on. So we're hands-on with them. We're hands-on. We're always going to our properties to visit them, to make sure that things are running as intended. There's always touches on the property. There's weekly meetings with our regionals and property managers, and constant communication. So that just adds another layer of risk mitigation to our company that not everybody may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, tell me who the key players are that are involved that allow you to execute your acquisition and asset management strategy.
Yeah, so we really...
Yeah,
I'll start off with this, Garrett. Maybe you can.
Oh, good.
We have this goes
Yeah,
right
go
into
ahead.
what Garrett just said. We have a team of people that have experience in their verticals that do all these things. So we have someone dedicated full time to acquisitions. We have someone dedicated full time to asset management. That person stands a layer above our property managers. We have someone dedicated full time to investor relations and the investor experience, that we communicate well, get distributions out on time, there aren't any surprises or curveballs. We have someone full-time overseeing construction. So those people all ensure that the investment experience and the experience just being a part of a Nighthawk investor is one that is as smooth and enjoyable as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we make sure we don't cheap out on the people that we're hiring. We're spending multiple six figures per person that we're hiring on board to create that deep roster of knowledge and experience to supplement our experience in the business as well. I know a lot of stuff, but I may not know about how the plumbing works in this particular unit. So we make sure that we have someone that's there that's really experienced in that side of things to help supplement us. In addition, we have a core team of attorneys, of CPAs that support us, that are very familiar with multifamily and almost exclusively do multifamily accounting and legal. So that is a good support mechanism for us as well, to make sure we're doing everything on the tax side and on the legal side to support everything that's going on in our organization.
Absolutely. Well, amazing. Thank you, Garrett and Drew, for speaking with me today and telling us more about Nighthawk Equity. It was such a pleasure to hear more, and we really look forward to working together.
Great. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lauren.
absolutely. Have a good one.